What is the price of a human life? In our world, we might say it's priceless. But inside the walls of a federal prison, life has a different value. It can be a commodity, a message, or a debt to be paid. Now ask yourself another question. What is the price of your own freedom? Imagine you are months, maybe even weeks, from walking out of prison a free man. Then you are given an order. It's an order to end another man's life, in full view of security cameras, an act that will guarantee you never see the outside world again. It feels like an impossible choice. But on October 16, 2007, in the suffocating heat of a Florida prison, two men were faced with this exact choice. What they did, and more importantly, why they did it, pulls back the curtain on a parallel universe. A world with its own government, its own laws, and its own brutal form of justice, all operating under the nose of our own. Today, we are not just telling a story, we are entering that world. If you're ready to see what's on the other side, hit that subscribe button and join us on this deep dive. Our story takes place at the Coleman Federal Correctional Complex, a sprawling facility that rises from the Florida swampland. Inside its most secure section, the Special Housing Unit, or SHU, life is a slow, grinding purgatory. Here, inmates are confined to their cells for 23 hours a day. Their only escape is a single hour of recreation. This doesn't mean a basketball court or a weight pile. It means being led into one of a series of tall, narrow steel cages that stand in a silent, oppressive row. It's just you, the concrete, and the sky, caged in. On that October day, three men were led into these cages. Orlando Yazzie in one. In another, Osvaldo Farias and Gerardo Martinez. The first few moments were captured on silent surveillance video. They looked like friends exchanging warm greetings. Then the performance began. Farias and Martinez launched themselves at Yazzie in a sudden, vicious explosion of violence. They used a pinner shank, a small, often flimsy blade, stabbing him in the back. They tied his legs, and then began a methodical, soul-crushing demolition of a human being. The assault wasn't quick. It wasn't a flash of rage. It went on and on and on, for nearly 60 minutes. When guards finally stormed the yard, it was far too late. The aftermath left investigators with a chilling puzzle. The motive was clearly a gang hit, but the details made no sense. Why would two men on the verge of release carry it out? And the second, more profound question, in a maximum security unit, how is it possible that no one intervened for an entire hour? The answer to the first question lies with the gang. The answer to the second lies with the system itself. To understand the power that governed that prison yard, you need to understand that major prisons aren't just holding facilities. They are societies. And where there is society, there is government. The most powerful government inside the walls of Coleman was the Texas Mexican Mafia, known on the inside as La M. La M is not just a gang. It's a paramilitary organization with a constitution, a chain of command, and a code of conduct stricter than any law book. Their currency is fear, and their law is enforced without appeal. To see this law in action, we only need to look at the fate of Jose "Spooky" de Leon, a mid-level sergeant in the gang. His crime? He got ambitious. He began collecting the dime, La M's mandatory 10% tax on all criminal enterprise, without authorization from his superiors. In the corporate world, this might get you fired. In La M's world, it was an act of treason. The order for his removal was given, and his own members carried it out with brutal efficiency, leaving his remains as a gruesome warning. This is the power that loomed over Farias and Martinez. Their choice was never between freedom and life in prison. It was between life in prison and the fate of Jose de Leon. This ruthless ideology wasn't born in a vacuum. It was forged in a bloody prison war in the 1980s against a rival gang, the Texas Syndicate. The war reached its infamous peak on Bloody Sunday, a day when La M suffered a devastating loss. From that defeat, they rebuilt themselves with a singular focus: absolute control, unflinching discipline, and zero tolerance for weakness. They learned that to rule, you must be more organized and more merciless than anyone else. The man at the center of this storm, Orlando Yazzie, was the embodiment of what La M considered a weakness. On paper, he was a member, but his history made him a pariah. Let's be clear, Orlando Yazzie was not an innocent victim. He was a killer twice over. He was in prison for shooting a 13-year-old boy to death. He committed that crime while on parole for a previous killing, where he had beaten a 15-year-old to death with a smoldering log. His violent, erratic nature, combined with his known associations with other factions, made him a loose cannon. In the paranoid world of Laime, a loose cannon is a threat, and threats must be neutralized. So the order was passed down the chain of command, finally landing on Farias and Martinez. They were trapped, so they concocted a desperate plan, a piece of theater. They would make it look good. They'd use the pinner shank to wound, not kill. They would rough Yazzie up just enough to satisfy the order, assuming that within minutes the guards' whistles would blow and the show would be over. They began. 1 minute passed. 5, 10. The silence from the guard tower was deafening. Their controlled performance began to unravel into genuine panic. They were on stage, the audience was watching, but the one person who could bring down the curtain was missing. And then, from a cell down the tier, a voice of authority cut through their panic. It was Pete Carrion, a ranking officer in Laime, observing from his cell. He shouted the 2 words that turned their failed plan into a mandatory execution. "No parry! Don't stop!" The order was reinforced. There was no longer any ambiguity. There was no escape. Their performance had just become their life sentence. We now understand the terrible logic that forced Farias and Martinez to continue, but it still doesn't answer the second, more disturbing question. Where were the guards? The man whose job it was to sit in a chair and watch those recreation cages was Officer Anthony Cambisi. His absence allowed a theatrical assault to become a real-life murder. When questioned, he gave a weak excuse about updating a computer. Investigators quickly proved it was a lie. So where was he? Was it a case of catastrophic negligence? A guard who simply abandoned his post? Or was it something more sinister? Was he intimidated? Was he paid off? The system never provided a definitive answer. He was never charged. The empty chair he left behind remains a symbol of a complete and total systemic failure. In the legal fallout, the outcomes were as uneven as the crime itself. Martinez, who cooperated, received 21 years. Farias, who devised the plan, was handed 35 years. And Pete Carrion, the man who gave the final, fatal order from his cell. He was never charged for his role in the murder of Orlando Yazzie. The system convicted the soldiers, but the general walked free. The story of Orlando Yazzie's death is a chilling portrait of a prison system that had, in essence, been conquered from within. Laime didn't need to break out of prison. They had turned the prison into their own kingdom, a place where their orders held more weight than federal law. It forces us to confront a deeply unsettling thought. What happens when the institutions we build to contain monsters become the very incubators where they thrive and rule? What do you believe is the real reason the guard was missing? Share your theory in the comments below. And if you feel that pull to keep searching, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications, so you never miss a step in our journey to uncover what still hides on this earth. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.